Who needs a strategy when it comes to precious metals? We do. Hey everyone, thanks again for coming by Yankee Stacking. It really means a lot to me. So, what is the Yankee stacking strategy? Or as I affectionately refer to it sometimes as stacking the Yankee Way. I even have a playlist of some of my original videos. So, it's a very intentional way of stacking. I just didn't want to start stacking willy-nilly, picking whatever I see and not really thinking through what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. I'm a IT guy and I do projects a lot. And one thing I learned with project management is an old saying that is, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Now, I don't know if you've heard that before, and if not, you might want to think about that, but it's true. If we don't have a plan, if we don't have a strategy, we really don't know what it is that we're doing or why we're doing it or what we should buy. So I really think it's important to be very intentional. But I will say that it's possible and maybe quite likely that my strategy might not hold, or maybe the strategy needs to be changed. So you know what I did? I went back and I watched my original videos all over again. There were 3 parts to it, and I watched it listening to myself, which was a weird experience, and, well, really tried to figure out whether or not what I had said back then in August really held true today in January. I'm really actually a recent stacker, so I want to be humble about this, and I want to still keep learning. Just because this is my strategy in 2019 doesn't mean that it will be that way in, say, 2025. So let me just explain to you at a high level what the Yankee strategy is all about. For me, precious metals helps preserve my wealth, whether it be silver or gold. These are the types of assets that can weather financial calamity and crisis or skyrocketing inflation. That is my primary purpose to stack. I call it being a prepper type of stacker. Yes, prepper sometimes gets a bad rap, that term. And I'm not, thinking the world's coming to an end or zombies are going to show up at my front door or I don't have a bunker in my backyard. But I do prep. I prep mostly for longer term crisis with precious metals. But I do stack short and midterm for natural disasters or other scenarios that may occur with food and water and other preps. So that's my persuasion, but I do like to collect some things. Now, I am a little bit of a collector type stacker, shiny things that are beautiful, but I really try to hold that at bay and only treat myself to those types of higher premium precious metals on a rare occasion. And I have flipped a couple things, but I don't consider myself a flipper stacker. I am a prepper type. And I do focus primarily on 3 areas of precious metals. The first is constitutional. I love constitutional, or yes, junk silver. Whether it be dimes, quarters, half dollars, they're beautiful. And 90% silver is a very effective way to stack. I'm sure you all know this. But I do like to focus on newer silver coins, not older ones, primarily because I'm looking for the most weight I can get in my constitutional silvers. So I've been collecting 1964 Washington quarters primarily, and the same thing with Kennedy half dollars. I like to pick and choose my junk silver very carefully at a local coin shop. And my LCS vendor really is nice and lets me do that. So that's a plus. And if there's a great deal that comes along, which I just happen to take part in, I'll buy some sight unseen. But most of the time, I like to see what I buy when it comes to constitutional silver. The other types of precious metals I like a lot are government bullion. So, of course, American silver eagles, Canadian maple leafs. Love the Canadian maple leaf. I have a video on why I love it so much. I did decide to go in on the Britannias. Oh boy, that shine, I'll tell you, it seduced me. So, okay, I have a growing roll of Britannias. Now, the Yankee Candid was a purchase I made back in 2009 after the Great Recession had gone into high gear. Gold was $1,000 an ounce, so that was a big investment. That sort of was the base, if you will, of my precious metal stack. I don't get 1 ounce American gold eagles or Canadian maple leaves or any kind of government bullion anymore. It's a little high. So what I do is I get fractional gold, like the Canadian maple leaf, 1/4 ounce. That is my favorite denomination right there. Why? Well, I could wait a long time to get a 1 ounce of these, but that's a long time. And I do like to dollar cost average and get some when I can. But, you know, the lower the premium, the better for me. So 1/4 ounce tends to be the sweet spot. So those are primarily the 3 types of precious metals I buy. I sometimes buy some really fun rounds, or occasionally I'll get a really nice higher premium silver coin. I didn't put any out today because I really wanted to focus on the 3 that are the basis for my permastack. But I do occasionally treat myself. I remember talking with, it was Silver Chimp, and I was talking about the comments that the community loves to say, and one of them is, buy what you like and like what you buy, something to that effect. And it was funny because Silver Chimp said, wow, that's an interesting phrase. I kind of think of that in terms of eat what you like what you eat, and that can get you to be 300 and 400 pounds if you're not careful. I was like, yeah, that's how I feel about precious metals. I mean, yeah, silver is silver, right? Gold is gold. I get that, but I'm afraid that if I just saw something beautiful and bought it without really looking carefully at premiums and trying to be careful, I personally could really run off the rails. I think I could have some significant buyer's regret. And one thing about having my strategy is that I really can be honest with you and tell you that there's nothing that I've purchased that I regret purchasing. Doesn't mean that I won't make a mistake. Believe me, I make a lot of mistakes. But I think I minimize those mistakes dramatically by sticking to this strategy. So what about tweaks or changes to my strategy? I do buy rounds like these buffaloes. I got this from JM Bullion because it was a spot deal. That's probably the only time that I pick up these in bulk is if it's at spot. Yeah, I'm not into that because again the prepper in me says I want gold and silver that is easily recognizable as coming from a trusted source. Okay, so now this is where I tread a little on eggshells. I'm going to tell you what I don't stack. I mentioned that I very seldom buy rounds. It's got to be at spot. It really does. And even then, I don't buy a lot of it. I almost never buy bars. And although some of you might go, well, that's like the lowest premium silver you can get. Why would you not buy bars? And before I say I don't ever buy bars, I need to show you 2 that I have. One is the number 2 Baggins bar. Oh yeah, number 2, 2.09 ounces. This is what's called an exception to Yankees strategy because it's a Baggins bar. I wanted to show my support. I really wanted to be able to, just show some love to a guy that really means a lot to me. And to top it off, my son this Christmas bought me another Baggins bar. This time he had it stamped Yankee stacking. Isn't that beautiful? That was a gift of love from my son. Little stacks. Those are the only 2 bars that Yankee has ever purchased. Does it mean I will never purchase another bar? No. It has to be really, really special. I call all my higher premium outside the Yankee stacking strategy, silver and gold, ice cream cones. You wouldn't want to have a steady diet of ice cream. Well, actually, you might, but you shouldn't have a steady diet of ice cream. However, once in a while, everybody wants an ice cream cone. So I do buy occasional fun stuff, but this is rare. And it stems back to something my dad taught me almost 45 years ago when we first started stacking dimes. I remember him saying, I don't want to have to convince someone in a economic crisis that the 5 or 10 or even 1 ounce bar that I own is legitimate. I don't want to have a bar where people are asking me to cut it in two, or simply saying, nope, I don't trade, I don't barter in bars that I don't recognize. Now, there are bars that are highly recognizable, Engelhard bars, and a whole bunch of other bars that have a very common name, at least among stackers. But I really want to be able to leverage the recognizability of bullion, constitutional and government bullion. You might say, Yankee, people aren't going to know what government bullion is or constitutional silver. And you have a point there. I tried to buy a pound of coffee with an American Silver Eagle last year. And, well, it was a very interesting response that I got. I get that. However, in an economic collapse, an SHTF situation, I think people are going to learn quite quickly that a 1964 Kennedy half is silver, 90%. In fact, they might not even care that it's 90%. They might just treat it like a silver coin. Gold, I will probably have to convert that to silver before I do any bartering for supplies and so forth. But anything, even up in here in New England, they recognize what a maple leaf looks like. We have Canadian coins go through our hands a lot. So I really think that this is going to be more recognizable and more trusted quicker than a bar. Does it mean that nobody should stack bars? I'm going to get probably the most amount of comments below about bars. I really appreciate the debate. I am not focusing on bars. It's just not the type of commodity that fits a prepper stacker like myself. Actually, there's one last thing that I would say that I've tweaked some, and that is the willingness to flip. In fact, after winning 5 of these Somali elephants from Regal Stacker just a little while ago, I have considered the possibility of flipping these. You know, I'm going to keep a few, but man, I think I might be able to make a little bit off this. But, you know, we'll see. I might do a little more flipping in the future. And the last thing I want to do is shout out Silver Jeans. He has a great channel too. I'm going to put Silver Chimp and Silver Jeans channel in the description below because they have both great quotes for this video. But Silver Jeans did a video on staying in your lanes. Love that description. You're going to check out that video. I think he drew 3 lanes, if I'm not mistaken, and he said it's really important to have a strategy and be able to stay with it, and he tries to stick in those lanes, if you will. And I agree with a lot of what he says. I guess you could say I have 3, right? Constitutional lane, government bullion lane, and a gold lane. And that, to me, is fun. And that's about it. Thanks again. I appreciate you stopping by, and I hope your day is A-OK.